Next, let's queer up social justice. Orlando gathers for post-tragedy remembrance on June 12th. This week is a solemn date on the LGBTQ plus calendar that every queer person knows June 12th. Following the post-tragedy in 2016, the Orlando community came together under the banner of Orlando United. Now, almost 8 years later, this spirit of unity endures as the community continues to honor and remember the 49 individuals lost, their families, the survivors, and all those directly impacted. On June 12th, a day of remembrance will feature two significant events. The day begins with the 49 Bells ceremony at the First United Methodist Church of Orlando. This ceremony, part of the Acts of Love and Kindness movement by One Orlando Alliance, involves the tolling of bells to inspire volunteerism and support through acts of love and kindness, reflecting the generous spirit witnessed in the aftermath of the tragedy. The annual Remembrance Ceremony will take place in the evening at the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts, hosted by the City of Orlando. This ceremony will bring together community leaders, first responders, and the families of the victims and survivors to honor the 49 angels taken and all those impacted by the tragedy. Admission to the Remembrance Ceremony is free, but tickets are required for attendance. This annual event serves as a poignant reminder of the enduring strength and unity of the Orlando community. Further details are available on postorlando.org. This is I'm glad that Orlando has come together to honor the victims. We're talking 49 members of our community, 49 brothers, sisters, friends, lovers who tragically lost their lives because of hate. And so we should always remember those individuals. So I'm so glad that this is happening in Orlando. Actually, at Pride Lines this Wednesday as well, in honor of the Pulse victims, we'll do a mural unveiling on the side of our building. We have a local artist who did a mural in honor of the 49 victims. We have a couple of families who live here in Miami who lost their loved ones who will be at this ceremony as well. It'll be between 6 and 8. We'll do the unveiling, we'll have a whole ceremony, some spoken word, and then we'll have a reception afterwards. We felt like it was important to do our part as well, particularly given the fact that the One Pulse Foundation actually dismantled late last year, early this year. There was a lot of feud between the former owner of the club and the organization. She left the organization late last year. The foundation decided that they were going to close because of financial difficulties. They've raised, almost $20 million over an 8-year period, nearly 8-year period, and unfortunately, the memorial will not happen. The property where Pulse's the nightclub was located on is in flux. There's a lot of controversy behind the public dollars that was invested into this particular project, and who knows what happened to those dollars? We just don't know. And so there's a lot of back and forth between the county and the state because those dollars were invested in that property. So the property is actually up in flux because the state put a significant amount and the county put a significant amount of money in it. So there's kind of a lien on that property until the state and county is paid back. And the county has to be paid back first and then the state. So who knows what's going to happen, but the memorial won't happen. So I love the fact that Orlando still is honoring, despite this not happening, despite the foundation dissolving, that there are other groups in Orlando that's doing this. And, us right here in Miami is doing it as well. So
it's so important that you kids are doing that over there at Pride Lines, okay? Because when to me, what happened at Pulse is kind of like our 9/11. I mean, 49 beautiful souls were taken from us, from someone who would avidly come to the damn bar, right? And just hated himself that much, it's an awful remembrance, but we can never forget that hate exists, and the reality is that freaking Orlando's 3 hours away. That's just part of a shred of growing up here and living here, that you live down here and it's I can just go to Orlando this weekend. Not a big deal. It could be a Disney weekend, blah, 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 So a lot of people from Orlando have lived down here or used to live down here or moved down here after all that kind of stuff happened. So it saddens me that they couldn't find a common place to figure out to get this memorial up, because I really think that our community needs it.
Yeah.
But I will say that during that that time, I couldn't get up to Orlando for anything. And I went to Pride Lines, right? And Pride Lines had an indoor closed event with all the pictures and all the, letting you know deep down about these beautiful people that we lost, their families, how they got there. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful just state of not it being so sad over what happened, right? And it gave us a place to go mourn. That was and that is what a memorial does. It gives you a place to go and be sad over the loss, And so it's so important that they are still doing something like this.
Yeah, I love Orlando, the city of Orlando, for what they do for the LGBTQ plus community. Our sister chapter, Impulse Miami and Impulse Orlando, work closely together. And part of your story was a part of my story with this. A group of friends was going that night to go to Pulse that night. And I was in the bed, and like I usually am. And some of them chose not to. Literally that night. Yeah. So I hopped on a plane literally the next morning and went to the memorial in downtown Orlando. And I'm happy that the tradition has continued. I'm happy that they still hold a space for the LGBTQ plus community, especially their Pride. If you've ever seen their Pride, they shut down the entire city. Everything is gay. Everything is gay. So I really love that Orlando still holds position and holds space for us there, despite what's going on with the other organizations.
Yeah. Harrison, what does that make you feel when you're thinking about this memorial?
Honestly, it makes me think of a couple stories, but I'm just going to share one out of I have a lot I could say on this, but just as a regular one of those Disney, Orlando, Universal people, I did enjoy Pulse during my college years, so I remember it very well. It was a great place, a lot of community. I was actually living in, although I'm native to Miami, I've moved around a little bit to, get a little real world experience. I was in College Station, Texas, of all places, which is the hometown of Texas A&M when this happened. And I'm like, well, there's nobody I'm going to be able to talk to about this. This is a tragedy. I feel kind of helpless being so far away. Yeah. But this community, which is very, very conservative community, they rallied. They had this huge gathering in one of the huge auditoriums on campus, and it was standing room only. Wow. And not just I'm going to go and College Station, Texas. We're not talking Austin or Houston or Dallas. College Station, Texas. I may or may not own some Airbnbs there, by the way. Sorry, taking a little levity out of the situation, but basically a lot was said that day, but the president of the university got up on that stage, President Young, and he said, I know for a fact that Texas A&M is an institution that has not always been there for its LGBTQ individuals, community, but we are going to be there for you now. Aww. And that really stuck with me. Touching. It was touching for me for, being a maybe there for 2 years, but these people who had lived in the community for 40 years were like, I've never heard anybody say anything like that. I've never heard anybody own the homophobia that this institution has spread in the past. I think Texas A&M was listed as like least gay friendly university in the entire country or something. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Question.
I think the big thing is that, what Pulse reveals is that it could happen to anyone.
Yeah.
It's a club, right? So despite Takeout being LGBT, it was a club.
How many clubs are we all always at, with that many people?
So it could be anyone. It could be, that straight club that your kid is going to, right? And so I think that's what
you think you're in a safe place and you're not.
You just never know.
I kind of like the Aurora, Colorado movie theater shooting, that I not to draw but like
no, you're right.
Here you are just watching, enjoying the Dark Knight Rises, and it's scary, but I think it's important to learn from it.
Yeah, and remember.
Learn and remember.
Where are you at on all this?
I have it resonates with me, this type of violence. I've been through many things myself. I've also been through 9/11. I've also, been through this type of catastrophe. And, one thing that I've learned, especially now when it affects my community, the LGBTQ plus community, is that, we could become stronger at these type of things, and it's the examples of, who we are in these moments. And, I just feel personally that there wasn't enough exposure around the Pulse nightclub shooting, with a year or two later, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, the shooting there with the kids, I think kind of overshadowed it. And I don't feel that there was enough really told about these stories. I mean, there was some documentaries, but, you know, from what I've seen with other, you know, tragedies, I just didn't feel that there was enough talked about. So maybe that could have led to some of this funding that was probably so desperately like mismanaged through it all. I don't know.
Yeah,
But that's a good point.
I think it's a great point, but part of the challenge is it's a marginalized community, right? So I hate to bring this to race, but the Black and Brown community experiences, unfortunately, tragedies like this all the time. It may not be as massive in the club, but in our communities, and so you don't hear about it. But I think the issue with the Pulse was that it's a marginalized community. So like right away, you know, the media immediately covers something else that's a part of the majority culture, right? And so all of a sudden forget about that community, you know, a month or two or a year after, right? Because there's another hot story
something else
with the majority culture. But the Black and Brown community has experienced this for such a long time, unfortunately. And, you know, we see it in our neighborhoods, right? That where there's been massive amounts of, you know, tragedies that have occurred, but then people just look over it.